I'm Gilbert Aguilera, born in September 1st, 1942. I'm 80 years old now. I was born in a small town in southern New Mexico, Demi, New Mexico. It was a military base at that time. My father was in the U.S. Army, stationed at Fort Bliss. My mother, a housekeeper. I was an only child then, but she worked at the ammunition depot in Deming in the airport. And almost, I think the important thing about that event was being born on the same street as the Catholic street. I'm sorry, on the Catholic church on Ruby Street. Because all the men were recruited and had been shipped either to the Philippines and in Europe. My father fought in the European campaign. And but the church was so important to all these people. And I was a young infant at that time, living so close to that church that I became a central figure for women and that lost their husbands, sons, and so forth. And the family in Deming at that time were so close, and there were so many victims of the war, people that never showed up, including my dad's cousins. And it brought a real closeness to the people. It was a beautiful time in Deming. The church surrounding that, the economy was much better at that time. The problems occurred after World War II is that my father had the difficulty, they could not find proper employment. And it was a struggle for them to do that. So I went from Deming to the copper mining area of Grand County. I lived everywhere. But eventually my father got a steady job in Hurley, New Mexico. On my mother's side, my uncle Avelino Trujillo went in the Navy and was a radio man on a submarine service. He was on the submarine, the USS Bang. And when he got discharged, he graduated from Deming with good honors. But he came out and he went immediately to New Mexico State University in Las Cruces. And he met and married Mary Morales, who was also a student there. And my uncle Avi graduated with an engineering degree and it started working with the Martin Missile Company, and then eventually was promoted to probably the largest aerospace company in Downey, where he became. But my uncle Avi, as he was growing up and we were young, my cousin Danny Olguin, myself, and all the others, they prepared us for what was coming. And they're the ones that mentored us to go in the military and utilize the GI Bill, is what they were doing. Our parents could not even afford us to send us to Western University school. I graduated in 1961 with good grades. I had an incredible time playing sports all over the state. The Borderlands at that time was an incredible time. We spent so much time here in Palomas, Chihuahua, El Paso. Our Hispanic families were from the Mesilla, Las Cruces, Picacho area. They were the original colonizers of that family. On the other hand, my dad comes from Apache tribe, Chihenne tribe, and they were more of a horse culture, and they originally came here in working for the military in either cattle or the horse industry. And there were 7 brothers, and eventually that ability to work with that much livestock and especially training horses, our interest developed in a different way. But Uncle Avi got us to go to a university. we finished our military uh, duties, which my father said was an obligation that we must first commit. Because I had a athletics scholarship to go to Western, and I refused that. I went straight into the military. When I got out of the military, now, when I got out of the military, I was fortunate that I ended up in a security top secret base, and I actually ended up with a top secret clearance and a crypto top secret clearance. So when after my 4 years, the missile or engineering industry, weapons development and so forth, they came and recruited us. And Collins Radio from Newport Beach came and recruited me, gave me a job, and paid for my education.
Can you describe when did you get into go into the military? What service you served under,
Uh-huh.
and service duration? Oh, and why did you go in, and what were your experiences there?
I graduated in 1961, like I said, and my interests were just to get out of New Mexico, southern New Mexico. I didn't want to be a miner, and I didn't want to work at the smelter or be a cowboy, and that was the only options we had. 8 of us went in the service together. We all got tested. It was 7 young men. All of us were around 18 years old, and one girl from Santa Clara, Gloria Duran.
They were all native.
No.
Oh.
In growing up at this particular time, there was no reservation in this area. Nobody was native. Nobody at that time, culturally protection. It was in order to protect us and to prepare us better for the life that we were in now. They really restricted us from speaking Spanish, and the Native Americans that were here were forbidden to speak, especially Apache. It was better to be, and most of them were passing themselves off as Mexican Americans, and most of them had, of course, the Apaches in this area they took the name Garcia and Montoya, but in the background we knew from our grandparents who was native, and we never forgot the native ceremonies and the caring of the elders, and that was my biggest responsibility growing up with my grandfather, was taking care of the elders and helping them every weekend. These people lived so poorly they didn't even have running water. So every Saturday, regardless of how bad I would been beat up playing the football game the Friday night, I got up Saturday. We put 50-gallon barrels in the back of my friend David Diaz's truck, and we filled them up with water at the railroad station, and we went to all the last of the full-blooded Native Americans, Apache mostly, some Navajos, and we took care of them, and in that way, and we did that and they were all women. They finally all passed.
So may I ask, what you were doing? This was after the military when
No, this is in high school.
Oh, in high school.
No. There was, in growing up here in this area, you were in indentured servitude. I thought I was a slave. You went from family to family, ranch, farm, whatever, and you worked from sunrise to sunset. And it was your relatives, and you never saw a set. All the money went straight to your mother. So it wasn't working here. In Deming, there's no farm. From Deming to Columbus that I didn't work in. Picking cotton, onions, chili.
So going back to your military time,
No, well, that's why.
well, no, that
No,
prepared you for your military
no,
later
you
on.
worked like that. No, I wasn't going to live here, and that's why we were motivated. You have to be motivated. Something has to do it. Okay, and the motivation was I was not going to use. I was not. My dad and my many people have told me you were going to starve to death with these hands. I knew I was destined to go to a university. I mean, I've been told that I chopped that finger off. I mean, I've had accidents with trying to do manual labor, and really, I mean, I was destined. I had to.
Can you mention also what relatives you might have in Fort Baird?
Yeah, hold on. The
Okay.
thing is, growing up here is the respect in having the ability, the respect of the church, and the way you grew up here with the respect of the elders, the respect of rights, being right, and we had an excellent base that helped me all through my life. Bathing regularly, going to church, helping the elderly. This community was very tight. The very, very, very strong people. Poor, but very proud.
Mhm.
And that's what I remember. Incredible orchestras, the people would gather in, whether it was a community, and the families were so strong. The ranching, the hunting. That's we in Deming. We learned they gave us a BB gun by the time you were 5 years old. By 6 and 7, we were hunting cottontails
Hmm.
with 22s. I mean, I could run over mesquites and shoot at the same time. So, no. And our dads and all the military men here were already military personnel. Some, like my dad being a drilling instructor in Fort Bliss, all of this knowledge was put to us, and we were taught this. But we had the respect and how to present ourselves. And I think my father, you know, in just knowing how to be properly addressed in the respect. And that's what we learned that helped us so much in the military. Military was easy for us, you know. And, but that's what's good about the military. They all take you to ground zero and they build you up, and then it all depends on your skills. You do. It's a whole different life.
Can you explain about um, how some tribes, a lot of them, join up in the military? And can you explain about that sense of
In the military,
cultural obligation?
you know, the thing is that you're put together 150, 140 people, and you start seeing the different people from other reservations, Hawaiians, Filipinos, Romanians. You're exposed to so much at that time. The Native Americans, we all kind of somehow, if you were Native, you kind of varied to that. And the culture, it was just part of the cultural thing. And wherever we went, wherever we served, whether it was in Milton or Memphis, Tennessee, I happened to have been sent to the Paiute country in China Lake, California, in Bishop. And the natives right away recognized something in me that they came and reached out to me. And I'm sorry, my education was electronic technician, avionics, and I was in extensive weapons development. I came into electronics at the time when the vacuum tubes was entering and the micrologics transistors was coming. So I went at a critical time. And most importantly was my ability to take orders and to do the job that was necessary. I was a very good technician, and with a strong military background that I had with my father, you know, I was always, in my appearance, I took such pride, and I think this is what all Native Americans, they take such pride that we're used to do, to be the executive drivers and, honored. We did things for special events, but they chose certain amounts of us to do these special things. And I was one of those. I was a color guard and duty driver for the top brass. And it opened doors for me. The other thing is that being from here in Palomas, I was an excellent bartender. I never had a drinking problem. I've been drug free all my life. But I've been alcohol, especially the veterans that came out after World War II in Korea. They came down with some serious problems. And there was excessive drinking being done in Deming, and well, this whole area.
Not so
My
much.
father included.
Not so much Vietnam era.
I'm in Vietnam.
So-
No, I grew up when they were. I saw my dad coming back, screaming and running around at night with the nightmares, the post-traumatic syndromes. I've seen it in all my family, and it took my dad many. They never got over it. They didn't speak to it until there was so many people from Deming and Las Cruces, the Southwest, here, that when they got together, then they spoke in those serious matters. I was there because I was a hunter and I was always helping out. But that's why I know so many of the stories of what happened. But it was serious. It always affected, and they drank excessive alcoholism. And this has been something in our culture we've experienced in all our family. Not only that, but the land that we lost when they took over all this land. They went to the United States. And then the Depression comes in. After that, they lost all the others. The banks went bankrupt. And our men here, they worked so hard, and they were the colonizers, and they lost all the land. These people had to pay a carpetbagger from back east to get land, a little plot of land in Deming. It's the size in a matter of time like that.
For Vietnam era veterans,
Yeah.
for people that you saw maybe coming back from Vietnam or worked with.
No, we're not. I'm just getting into Vietnam. We're already experiencing that. Okay? We just finished World War II, where we killed so many people. All these men from here, Mapi, Chaitis, and all of this, that survived the Japanese prison camps in the Philippines. I witnessed these people and how they were treated, and they were heroes. But they crawled into a bottle. And that's how they ended up surviving. This is what the military did. And I witnessed this. And then we have Vietnam come in 5 years later. Come on. And they came back worse. Because now they had drugs.
Right.
Good drugs.
Heroin, especially.
Yeah.
Did you see
Yeah. No. Oh, God.
people
Bad.
you knew coming back
Oh,
dealing with
yeah,
these problems?
yeah. No, it's bad. It's in the drugs. My mother blames everything on the hippies. She said the minute the hippies came in, everything went to hell. But she blames, but no, that was the drugs. The marijuana was kicking out. It was good. Yeah. And from just graduating in 1961, what I have seen, we have regressed. I mean, we have taken a major, and now they've legalized it. So, yeah. And like I said, being drug free all my life, no problem with drinking, no tattoos. it's very difficult for us to survive in this kind of culture. And I worry. And thank goodness I have 3 daughters and many, 8, 9 grandkids. All of mine are well educated, all have gone into universities. And my cousin, the Apache, says, I know you've done a good job. And he says, I know this because how your kids are. To me, that was the most important, the most beautiful thing I think everybody said. And I measure that. Tony was with me at my 80th birthday in September. And I felt guilty because I've traveled all over the world facilitating spiritual unity gatherings, politically involved with the farm workers, the low income Native Americans. I thought I neglected them, but I saw them. And Tony met my daughters, and they're so loving with their husbands and partners and their children. And it was the most beautiful feeling to me is that I know they're going to be okay. I have nothing. They've did it. It was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
My friend from Oklahoma, Tom Harjo, another Native American photojournalist that was with me in Standing Rock, he looked at that. He said, Gil, I can't believe you put a 3-day event. There wasn't one fight. He said, in Oklahoma, we'd have had 3 fights Saturday morning. And times have changed. And the Native American, the pure, the reservations have had it probably worse than the rest of us. We kind of blended in, somehow mixed, found our niche. I still haven't found mine, but we've done well. Great preparation by the people from these are hardworking pioneer people here. These are the colonizers that come all through here. Yeah.
Can you, we didn't get it recorded before, although you mentioned it. Can you name the people who are at Fort Baird? And then also you had mentioned that you were also planning to be there at that cemetery.
The cemetery, my grandfather's buried in Deming. Most of our family settled here because of the railroad and the livestock. This corridor has always been it's the major corridor in the Chihuahua Desert. There is an ancient trail from San Antonio, Texas to the San Diego. Goes right through Deming. Goes through Picacho, through Deming, through Tucson. It has existed for thousands of years. The most important salt road, the north and south trade routes, come from Culiacan through Casa Grande, the largest pueblo in the southwest, right through Deming, Engage, right through the Members Valley to Chaco Canyon, to Greyhorn Butte, to all the major trade routes. These trade routes have always existed. And we were part of the great, Cabeza de Vaca came through this area. All these pictographs right here, just north we call it Picacho de Mimbres, Cerro de los Remedios. Now it's named Cook's Peak after the Indian fighter that led the Mormon battalions through here that stole all the water. But these sacred mountains have some of the most incredible pictographs. These mountains, we have macaw parrots from the Yucatan painted, the largest ones. This is such a sacred place, and the homeland of the Chiricahua Apache. The Mimbreño, the pottery, the most incredible cultures have come through here. Why? The great waters of the Members Basin and Aquifer. The Members Valley Basin, the Aquifer, it extends from the headwaters of the Gila, the Mimbres, all the way to Casa Grandes. It's all one culture, one incredible time, but rich. But they discovered gold and copper, and these mines up here have polluted everything. I don't hear anybody, years when I grew up, Deming's pure water, it's amazing. Deming was real proud, and it was I told you I dug wells here as a kid. Now I didn't dig them. I just put the dirt in the pail and they put us in the hole to fill the pails. But we helped. In those days, everybody did that. And the most important thing about growing up here, I was coming back. I loved Baja California, even though I lived in Southern California and I had a home by UCR in Riverside where I went to school. But my weekends, I'm going to Ensenada. And I'm coming back through San Diego. And a Border Patrol agent, it wasn't busy. And I came back and it was a female. And I gave her my information. She says, "Where were you born?" And I said, "Deming, New Mexico." And she repeated real quick, "Well, what's Deming famous for?" And I says, "Good water and fast ducks." You haven't come for here, but really to spontaneously come up with, and Deming is always, and then the duck races, And the good thing, I don't drink, but to this day I cannot. She came from a farm family from Columbus. If I was trying to, lie my way, but to this day it was probably the funniest thing I've ever heard. What's Deming famous for? Good water and fast ducks, right? The duck races. You ever heard of the?
Sorry, I didn't know anybody was improvising.
Oh, we were recording. That's okay.
Put a sign.
Anyway, that was. So it's.
Do you have any questions to ask?
Would you mind telling me your parents' names?
Huh?
Your parents' names?
Manuel and Josie Aguilera.
Thank you.
And they're both in Fort Barrett and Fort Barrett together. My brother is there now. All my first cousins are there. And I will probably be in. I am already. Yeah, I will hopefully be interned there with me.
Your brother is named Manny.
Manuel.
Would you mind telling me your first cousin's names?
Carlos Rodriguez is there now. Mary Lou Aguilera, but her husband is much older than me, but he's still alive. Both of them will be there. They're on the same line as my mom and dad. And you've heard of the Wreath for America?
Yes.
He knows I went to the University of California at Riverside. Sherman Institute for Indians is there. And that's what the sensitivity that I have, the involvement, the spirit, the native spirit that drives me and everything that I have happened there. Because so many of the elders, mostly the youths were a great influence for me in my early 20s. They introduced me to the Inipi ceremonies, the Sweat Lodge ceremonies. But the cultural being active, our children being active, it is such a great facility. And the powwow, the social gathering in Southern California with all the actors participating. All the great Lakota, all the people, at that time, it peaked. And they were some of the best. But Floyd, Redcoat, Westerman, Saginaw Grant, all of them would come to the powwows and helped. All the veterans, all the Dene code talkers. And that to me, and I've always had in me. I never, no soy de aquí, no soy de allá. But the ceremonies have always called to me. And I am a ceremonial person. From that, David Swallow came into my life through this connection with I'm not a powwow dancer. That was it. I went just to observe. I do, some of the social dance. But that wasn't my thing. but I was always doing economic development. I had great programs in working with forensics mental health. Like I said, low income in program development. I left my aerospace background and got into more helping the people. I was very politically active the whole state, but I got into these and I started with all the minorities. I lived a couple of miles from UCR at that time, probably the biggest, most activists. I had a big, beautiful split level home, and I could hold 80 people in my veranda down below, and there were blacks, Indians, natives, and every culture was there, and we were all pushing for a better life. And so I was very well active all my life.
That was in California?
Southern California. But
Riverside.
politically, and then I went to work in Sacramento, and I worked for the farm workers. Cedros Chavez's laboring. I've always had, one story, quick. I was at UCR working 2, 3 jobs, raising 2 children in Catholic school. And I'd been doing this for many years, and a few of us were ready to drop out and we didn't need the degree anymore. We were already established in the industry. So my friend who had a farm in El Centro, California, in the middle of summer, about 122 degrees, he took us down there and we worked that whole weekend, farm worker, labor. I came back Monday being the most ambitious. 2 days in 120 week degree, and I came back and I was the best student ever, and I did, and I knew there's a better life than working in the fields out here. Yeah.
So tell me more about your military experience, and would you advise younger people, younger Apaches today, to do the same?
It's a two-edged sword. And it really all depends on you. It's not the best life. Because many people don't realize that a lot of these young men that went in the military is because they either go in the military or go to prison. You got the throw whatever. But it is an opportunity if you want to make changes, to get away. You take a young man, it has been my experience, you take a young man out of a reservation, a barrio, put him in the military, if he succeeds, he never fits back in. He's a complete different. It is a step. It all depends on you, though, and what you want to do. There's a lot of temptations. You can do so much, and I've seen it all. It's good. I happen to have, and many of us, many of my friends, all my friends were well done. My friends, on the other hand, not education. On the other hand, my cousins, also Aguileras, all from Deming, Silver City, all. The thing is that also, 1916, what we experience today, after the Pancho Villa Wars, they started killing off all these people here, the wealthy. The ricos started killing off all the villistas. They hid out in our mountains. And a lot of them had to leave Mexico. We have people that hiding out in Hanover and they're the ones that brought in a beautiful culture, music, pianos, class, and they taught us a lot of that. But these were refugees. These were places where you went to kind of refuge, really, and they call it a place of refuge up there in those mountains. after World War II. It was very important here. You know, that's what they're talking about. Pancho Villa came and raided that because a merchant cheated him out of weapons and money. That's why he assaulted that. But a lot of those people came right through here. This connection right here in Palomas. I mean, the goddamn Texans came in, excuse my French, but they weren't even born here, and all the people from Bisbee, they went and got these miners that wanted better wages, and they put them in a cattle cart and sent them for days here to Floridas. The people from Deming churches went and fed them, and then took them to court. They deported natives from here because they were, and these were the Anglo, and then breaking union trades because they wanted a better wage. My parents and all the people in Hurley, all the Hispanics got half of what the Anglos did. And not one Anglo ever went into the mines in Santa Rita in those mines. Not one. They were all Apache, Navajo, or Mexican American. And natives from this country. This is, you know, and that's the sad part about it. And it still exists. The bad part about it, since Trump has come into office, it's all reverted back to what it was before. The racism has come out. They didn't give me a room at the Quality Inn last night. I went in the mornings, paid the ladies. I've got a slate card that I can charge $40,000 if I want. I've got excellent credit. They were beautiful. The older lady and the young lady in the morning at the Quality Inn, I got the rooms so that, you know, we have to take, Simon and I have to go to Columbus and take care of business. So I said, just leave it, I'll come back. And there was a young man there, and he looked at it, gave me a bunch of shit. I gave him my ID, and he said, when he looked, he says, well, you need an $150 deposit because you have a member's address, 88049. It's my post office. I don't live in Members, but that's the post office. And I said, what? He says, why? Your members, the members, because I lived in Members and had that. He, on top of it, wanted my Chase card again to charge me $150 deposit. And I'm sorry, I'm very short. I went ballistic. I was on this side of the counter. I had that little son of a bitch backed up against the wall. It's just racism. I don't know if they think that the people from Members are going to steal your toilet, or I don't know what the hell. From Members, they need towels. I mean, I couldn't believe. I had to go over to the Hampton, and I got a better room at the Hampton than I did. They brought in these. I don't know where they picked. I hope you don't know. You have to use this, but they fired almost all the local people and the Mexicans that have been working in these motels. There's a big movement all over the Southwest. I'm a guide. I stay in Sedona and everywhere, and they're bringing in what we used to call Okie people, Mormon colony people. I don't know where they dig these people up, and they've gotten rid of all the local people. And this has been happening but this is a big move. I just changed propane companies because they brought in these Texan, they bring their own, they fire all the local Hispanics that have been working for years. It's gone back to all the same shit. That's what we had.
Do you have any other questions that you might have thought to ask right now?
That covers everything.
That covers everything?
Thank you.
What I want to tell you guys is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is where all the major Apache battles occur. We have battlefields here going and we have all the proper historians here now, all the sites, but not just Fort Bear. There are in the Hurley Cemetery, in the Deming, you have some people here from Hershey buried right here in Deming. Mimbres, all the veteranos, if nothing, they're very proud. We have people that fought here in the Cuba crisis, Hispanics. We, World War II, Chevo Chavira. Chevo isn't, but he graduated from New Mexico State. Do you ever know Orlando Padilla?
I did not.
My primo hermano, vice president of General Motors. Fucking big guy. Guys, you cannot believe how multi. I was going to tell you about my primos. The education wasn't it. My primos were construction workers. My uncle, David Aguilera, he went to California working on the skyscrapers. He was just a foreman. His son is a good-looking, got connected. He worked there in the company. He's vice president of the company that builds the skyscrapers in Los Angeles. Millionaire. His brother got into dental implants, came up with some millionaire. And they sell their companies for millions, and then they hired them to run them. They don't talk to me. They're all Republicans.
What would you think of a national park in this area built around Apache
No,
history?
I'll tell you what. I know what we need in this area.
Okay.
That's education. A university that relates to Native American and La Frontera. Do you realize the economic development that the only area that has not been developed between El Paso and Tucson? Deming is the next. These Native Americans over here, the Apache out here, things are going to go through the roof. You know how many semi trucks I pass now going to Palomas? You stop here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and go to the Kentucky Colonel or Blake's and you watch hard work. That's one thing about Deming Valley. They're the hardest working farmers and truckers. These people are tough and workers. You can't get into these places, but you see the toughest. But this is going to be the next big. Fort Bear, we have all that land. They never gave the Chiricahuas a reservation. They put them all in prison camps. You have all that land. We do not need another goddamn casino. What we need is a proper university to deal with the matters of the international trade. Franz Feldharber, he controls everything from Brownsville to here in trade.
Who, I'm sorry?
But yeah, don't.
No, yeah.
France controls Pearl Harbor office, and when you go into Palomas, look up there, the building. Every truck that you see coming into Deming and Chile, todo eso, France and his family. They're from Chihuahua. They came here in 1974, guy. The dad sent them all to Texas A&M, bought a goddamn house, converted it. Their children are all going there. The millionaires are buying up this land here in the Mimbres like crazy. But compared to what you have in Chihuahua and Juarez, it's a billionaire. The billionaires from Chihuahua, the beautiful daughters from the billionaires in Chihuahua are marrying the billionaire sons of the Tejano oil companies. Millionaires is middle class. You and I, we're rank and file. I mean, we're lucky we can pay our gas bill.
Right?
Really, it's that. What I experience with the clientele, the people that I attend all the polo events and stuff like that. I'm in the back going, Jesus, I'm wondering if I can pay my gas bill this month. But really, what is changing right now, and it has nothing to do with what's happening. This is so far up, and I travel all over the world. So I've been to Austria. Oh, I've got friends in Switzerland. I take an elevator to go to my bedroom. When I travel, I don't pay. I mean, I always have a place, to stay. All I got to do is get there. But I've seen what wealth does, big time. And the Japanese, the same. Most of my clients, I'm the high-end tour, not touristic, but spiritual, ceremonial things. And photo, I do a lot of photo shoots for Japanese and Italians, models, and so forth. But everything is changing. But Deming, I haven't gotten back to Fort Baird. We need all these companies, and I mean Mexico. They're interested. I've told already. The Cabalgata has introduced me culture, the history, the connection of the border, what's happened here. All the pipelines go through Deming. The Butterfield Trail goes to Deming. I-10 goes to Deming. They don't never stop at El Paso. Think of what El Paso is doing. It's going to happen here soon. Soon. But Fort Baird's here. The land is there. They need to develop a university that deals with the environment, the water, that mining, what the hell to do. That mine is the biggest thing. It's the oldest mine. Well, Cuba has the oldest copper mine. Cuba. The slave trade. Don't even get me started on the slave trade that got here. But this university really needs, that would be a perfect place. The land, it's sacred. You could put a place where the Dene, everybody claims the Gila, the Denes, the Zuni claims it. And it's there already, and it's sacred ground. Sacred ground. You know what Central, do you know much about that area?
I do not.
Now they call it Santa Clara. You know what it was called before? Central. El Distrito Central de Mexico. It's all Chihuahua. Santa Rita de Cobre was the first, that was the most northern presidio from Janos. But the history and all of that is just so, but that education, and really, there's this money, I think the billionaires would be willing to put some money into doing a good university. The environment needs to be changed, and the water. Right there, we got two things. And this is, they got to close that mine. They're now expended. That's going to be even worse. And this area here's going to suffer.
So I got to cut you off because I'm running low on batteries again.
And you didn't
I haven't